Okay, so Gameranx, the YouTube channel Gameranx. Um, yeah, when? 7 hours ago. By the way, subscribe and like. First thing. I like this channel, even though they are very. This guy, Jake Baldino, I think is his name. He tends to be very positive, and and that's kind of a complaint that everyone has about his content. But I don't care. I think he's pretty much very objective in his reviews. But anyways, we're not watching a review right now. We're watching this list: 10 best PS5 games of 2023 you shouldn't miss. Okay, let's see. I haven't played all, but I guess I'll have opinions on each one of them.
2023 may be over, but there were so many great games.
Was that Alan Wake 2? I'm sorry, I'm just stopping at the very beginning because I wouldn't consider Alan Wake as a RPG. Oh no, this is not an RPG. It's just a list of games.
We're still talking about. Like the end of every year, we like to go back and narrow down some of the biggest and best for each of the consoles. And today we're talking PlayStation 5.
This is weird. This lists are weird because when they say like a specific console, there's obviously a few of them are gonna be exclusives. I would expect Spider-Man. We just saw Spider-Man there as an exclusive, but all of the games like Baldur's Gate 3 you can play on PC and eventually on Xbox. I think Baldur's Gate's already on Xbox. I don't remember. Let's just watch.
We'll be totally honest though, it's really hard to narrow down a best of list to 10. There were a lot this year, so we try our best, but we're looking forward to hearing your picks in the comments. Anyway, let's get started off with number 10. Star Wars Jedi Survivor really...
Should I have my comments before or after his comments? Let's
took everything from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and ran with it. This is a bigger and badder sequel in all the best ways. You're getting massive hub world areas to explore, almost like open world settings. You're getting more planets. You're getting expanded combat options with a ton of different stances for fighting. You're getting more cool references. You're getting prequel stuff. Just more to do in a more compelling story that kind of takes things to a darker level. I'm really curious to see where the series goes after this. They really did a good job making Cal Kestis more...
Wait, I'm having some trouble with my audio. Let me just try to do something here. Just in case it's here. Just in case. Let's do this. And then do this. Okay. Sorry about that.
Interesting this time around. The game did have performance issues when it released on PS5. It had some frame rate problems, and things still aren't quite perfect, but the game itself, the content, like the story, the gameplay, everything here is really great. I don't know if it's better than the original because that just had like some wow factor to it. You didn't see it coming, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor is still a must play for Star Wars fans of all ages. I know that's like a broad statement because Star Wars fans like to argue, but this is a fun one either way. Next.
Okay, so my thoughts on Star Wars. I better start with something that he just mentioned, and it's the wow factor that Fallen Order had. For me, these type of games, the wow factor was stolen by the first one. And when I say these type of games, I'm referring to these games that are kind of the evolution of the previous one in a good way. Like, for example, this game is just more Fallen Order, but a little bit bigger and a little bit more like the skill tree. Because the cool thing about this game is that you don't start from the beginning in terms of skills. Like, whatever skills you got from the previous one, not whatever skills, but the skills that you got in the story of the previous one, are skills that you already have here when you start playing. So it's like he's still the same character in a sense, and then you have a different skill tree to kind of keep growing the same skills that you already had from the previous game. So that's cool. The other part is that these the planets are bigger, more open. There's more to explore, so that's cool too. And then the story is good. I mean, overall the story is good. But this game didn't have a wow. Like I still have a few issues with both games, but this game doesn't have didn't carry the wow factor that for me Fallen Order had. Like I love Fallen Order. Um and there was a wow factor in Fallen Order that this one uh, I didn't have. And when I say these type of games again, I'm referring to these games like this one. And then God of War Ragnarok was the same thing. It was kind of the same game, but just adding a little bit more exploration, making the worlds or the locations a bit bigger and a bit more open. And then the whole thing with more weapons, more enemy types. It's kind of somehow they feel like a huge expansion on the previous game. If that makes sense. If they were like live service games, they probably would be considered like expansions, like big expansions. So with this game, with Ragnarok happened to me, with Zelda 2 it happened to me, like Tears of the Kingdom. I don't want to say it feels like a DLC for the game, for the previous game, but if it was a live service game, it truly feels that way. Like you have, if Breath of the Wild was a live service game, the Tears of the Kingdom will be adding the Sky Islands and the underground map. It's like when you add a location on a live service game, like Division 2, they added New York. Like in Destiny, every expansion, it brings a new location, a new planet, a new whatever. So, and then they expand a little bit on the gameplay. So for all those games, the wow factor was in the first one, and not necessarily with Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom still carried like a wow factor for me, but for a different reason other than the overall game. But this game, for me, Jedi Survivor, I really liked it. I'm not in love with the gameplay, with the combat, because it feels very flimsy. I feel like the character feels a bit flimsy, floaty. I don't know. It doesn't quite feel solid to me for some reason. That and that makes it weird with the platforming and also the combat. For me, but I still liked it a lot. This game, still. Now the performance issues. I know there was a lot of performance issues on PC. I didn't get it on PC. I got this game on PS5, and it was because of all the performance issues that the PC port had. And then when I got it for PS5, it wasn't apparently it wasn't as bad as PC, but the PS5 was horrible. The performance was, for me, it was horrible. Like I got very discouraged to actually finish the game because of the performance issues. It was very, very bad. It wasn't game breaking like in PC. Apparently PC the game crashed and everything, but but for me in PS5, yeah, it was all over the place. I didn't like it. It really um it really distracted me from having a good time in the game.
Next, over at number 9, we have the Resident Evil 4 remake. It was a year of remakes, but One of the ones that made the biggest splash, the biggest sales, was definitely Resident Evil 4. This was an ambitious remake because the original Resident Evil 4 was such a strange game, both tonally, setting-wise, everything about it was just oddball and unique. Thankfully, Capcom and the developers there did not shortchange it in 2023. They kept the weirdness, they kept a lot of the strange aspects, and they managed to make it a little scarier and a little more interesting. Ashley Graham, Leon Kennedy, Louise, they all have a little bit more depth to them. The game doesn't expand upon them too much where it breaks things or pisses off old school hardcore fans like me, but it does give them just a little extra glimmer of humanity, little extra bits of interesting things to them, and really just rounds it out to be a great Resident Evil adventure.
Amazing.
It's unlike any of the other Resident Evil games, and that's why a lot of people really love it, just because it is so different. But this one is so much fun to play. It's also fun to replay over and over again because the game gives you a bunch of different incentives and unlockables and secrets to do so, and they added the Ada Wong DLC separate ways. So really, it's a pretty damn good package. Like a lot of games on this list, you've probably heard a lot about it throughout the year, but still, it's worth talking about. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2, I mean Resident Evil 4. I say 2 because I had it in mind. Resident Evil 4, I haven't played the remake, and I didn't play the original, so I'm not gonna talk a lot about it. I'm just gonna mention how beautiful it looks. It does look very good. Well, it's not the Resident Evil engine, it's the RE engine, which is a bit confusing and I guess misleading coming from Capcom. But it does look great. I need to play that game, and when I say I need, that's intentional. I do need to play that game because it looks amazing, visually, and then the game seems to be very good. But I do want to mention previous games because I did play the remake of 2, the remake of Resident Evil 3, and Village, and then I did play Biohazard 2, which one is Biohazard? It's 9, 7, I don't know. All of them great games. I love them, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna enjoy Resident Evil 4. Pretty sure. Why is it not playing?
Next, over number 8, we have Diablo 4. Certainly a flawed game, certainly one that a lot of people have very valid complaints for, but ultimately, still, we found here at Gameranx to be a pretty fun Diablo game. Takes a lot of the concepts you want, building up characters.
I want to pause here because I do like that he says and emphasizes. I don't know if he did this intentionally, but he actually emphasizes Diablo 4 is a good Diablo game. Oh, not good. He said fun Diablo game. Because ultimately all the reasons, and I have a video in this channel talking about this. If you want to go 2 videos before this one, I think it's when I'm reacting to legendary drops comments about Diablo 4 and how Diablo 4 sucks because basically PoE is better. And I talk a lot about this issue, but and I'm not gonna digress here. But I'm happy that he says a good Diablo 4 because all the criticism on Diablo, most of it, I know it has a lot of problems, has a lot of issues, that they need to fix. But especially not at launch. At launch, I think everyone was okay, but then as time passed, the game felt like short on content for some reason. Campaign was good, but then the end game was a little bit short on content, and then season 1 wasn't great. Didn't bring in a lot of more content, so it wasn't that good. But then season 2 has been way better. But what am I saying? I lost my train of thought. What I'm trying to say, I think what I'm trying to say is I'm glad that he says it's a fun Diablo 4. It's a fun Diablo game because all the oh yeah, this is what I was gonna say. All the criticism that I hear, even though it has its flaws that I just mentioned, it has its issues and they need to fix a few things. to make it better, not to make it a good game, but to make it a better game, in my opinion. It's already a good game. It's already a decent game. Is that all the criticism comes, a lot of criticism, let me word that better. A lot of the criticism comes from a comparison with PoE. And it bothers me because Diablo doesn't have to be a PoE game. It doesn't have to compete with PoE. It doesn't have to be, you know, it's a Diablo game. It has to compete with itself. It has to be better than the previous one. And I think it does a good job at being better than Diablo 3, to be honest, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I appreciate that he says it's a fun Diablo game, and he kind of emphasized a little bit on that. I'm not sure if he did it intentionally, but that's good.
Grinding, replaying over and over again, and sets it in a pretty compelling and interesting and surprisingly big open world. There's more content coming soon. Blizzard has been making tweaks here and there, and not everybody's happy with a lot of those changes, and not a lot of people are happy with the monetization of this game. We pointed it out in our videos. Falcon has also talked about it at length, but ultimately, if you just boil it down to playing Diablo, maybe even playing Diablo with a friend, rolling a character and killing stuff in dungeons, Diablo 4 was a pretty good time. Is it the Diablo game to end all Diablo games? I don't know about that for sure. Maybe in a couple years we'll see how it shakes out, but again, specifically at launch when we blasted through it, it was a good time.
Diablo 4 is still not the best Diablo. Diablo 2 is still the best Diablo, and I'm fine with that. I mean, here's the thing, the conversation is so extreme and it's so black and white. It's like Diablo 4 isn't better than Diablo 2, but that doesn't make it a bad game. Diablo 4 isn't as deep and complicated as PoE, but that doesn't make it a bad game. It just make it maybe not better than the other games for other people, or for some people, or for all players. So that's the whole thing with the conversation. It's just like, oh, why, you know, it's not better in Diablo 2, so it's crap. No, it's just not better in Diablo 2. So Diablo 4, it's a good game. It's a decent game. It's a fun time, and it's gonna get better hopefully. And I'm gonna be there to support it instead of trying to trash it, basically. What else do I have to say about Diablo? Um, the campaign was great. I just mentioned. So if you haven't played Diablo, I mean, if you're not an ARPG player, probably you want to wait for a discount or something like that. If you like them, I think the campaign was super good. The visuals are great. Diablo 4 has great visuals. I know that gameplay is everything, but yeah, like gameplay is I mean, nobody cares about graphics until bad graphics come along. I'm looking at you, Starfield players, who criticize Starfield because of the graphics, or the facial animations. I'm sorry if my English is not perfect. I always forget to say that at the beginning, but yeah, graphics are not important until we get bad graphics. But visually, the game is spectacular. Music is great. Production value is great. Gameplay is good. Could be better. Systems are good. Could be better. And hopefully they keep on making the game a better game. Then I'm okay with that.
Next, over at number 7, we have Lies of P. Another one we've talked up a lot because the Gameranx crew really likes Souls-like games. Lies of P is one of the better ones to really do it. They understand what makes FromSoft.
Not one of the best, I think is the best, to be honest. And I'm not a huge Souls-like, but I've played a bunch. And I've played a little bit of From. Like, I played Sekiro, which it's its own thing in my opinion, but I play a little bit of Dark Souls 1, which I don't enjoy a lot. I did play a little bit of Bloodborne, which I haven't been able to enjoy it as much as I wanted to. and I did enjoy the hell out of Sekiro, and I did still play Elden Ring. Actually, I think I've uh I've like 4 characters, and I finished it like 2 times, I think. But yeah, I think this game is a closest thing
software games
to the
work, why
authentic
people are addicted to the
experience.
subgenre of Souls-like style games, why so many game developers try and take that formula. Lies of P just feels just right. But thankfully, they also really take it and run with it and do some interesting things with settings.
They innovated. They innovated a bit on it. I think the game has interesting systems and mechanics. The weapon thing that you can kind of craft weapons. It's something very interesting. And I do think this whole thing like Bloodborne, in which when you receive damage, you can counteract immediately and to regain that damage, that health. This one also has a mechanic like that, but it's a bit more nuanced, in my opinion. Where I don't remember exactly how it was. I think it works with the parry or something like that. I don't remember.
Story and how you build your character out. This is, of course, like the dark and gritty horror fantasy Pinocchio. And what comes with that is just some incredible, gorgeous backdrops and areas and environments, unsettling character and enemy designs, and over the top, really cool, really well thought out bosses. If you like these types of games, this one is extremely special. If you've been looking for something to scratch that itch that you've had since Bloodborne, this isn't quite that, but it's good to be adjacent to it. It might be enough for you. Either way, we definitely recommend you checking it out. It is, of course, challenging, so player beware. But if you're willing to stick with it, it's cool as hell.
I think the closest thing to a Bloodborne 2 that we have right now is this game. Visually, also, it's stunning. And this whole thing with Pinocchio, like I'm speaking as if I've played it a bit. I haven't finished it. But the whole thing with Pinocchio is a good thing. It's a cool thing too. Like it's a kind of a fun twist that they did with Pinocchio and the story and such. So that's cool. The combat is it's very similar. It's a best Souls like game that I've played that is not a From Software game, in my opinion. Now I gotta finish it. I gotta the whole thing, but my impression. Let's be clear on that. My first impression is that it feels like the closest thing to like a Bloodborne. Um, yeah. I'm gonna say a Bloodborne, not necessarily a Dark Souls.
Next up at number 6, we have Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, it was like one of the biggest selling games of the year. It seems like people are not tired of Harry Potter. And if you are a fan of the franchise, this game definitely gives you what you want. You have a big open world to explore, the Hogwarts castle completely to explore, and a pretty solid and engaging adventure. It definitely does some interesting things with the lore. It's a good bit of fun. Again, if you're a fan of the books or if you're a fan of the movies or anything like that, this will probably scratch that itch for you.
This game, Hogwarts Legacy, it's I think he there's he describes it well. Like if you're a fan of Harry Potter, let me just start by saying it's a good game. It's a good game. Everything works. It's a good game. But it's more it's forgettable in my opinion. Now, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I didn't read the books. I think I haven't even seen the movies, like all of them. So I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. But I do agree with the experience. Like this is the this is the best thing next to the movies to experience the Harry Potter Harry Potter universe. Sorry. I think, in my opinion. The game, it's beautiful. That's one thing. The performance isn't great. I don't know if they fixed it. I got it on PC. Performance was a big distraction for me. Um, especially in Hogwarts, in the school or the castle, whatever. But the art direction there was so good. I think I did vote this one for best art direction in my TikTok. If you, by the way, if you don't follow me in TikTok, that's where I make most of my content. Actually, it's efcos plays in TikTok. So I did a an award, kind of my awards, for example. Yeah, I did my awards, and Harry Potter, I voted for best art direction. The game is forgettable. It doesn't innovate on anything, in my opinion. Maybe people will disagree, but it's completely forgettable. The open world stuff, the content, the story, it's decent, in my opinion, but the whole thing with the open, it's more, for me, it was more like experience this world. It's kind of with the Avatar game, it's like, it's the best Pandora experience you can get. This is basically this. It's like, it's the best. I don't know how it's called, Hogwarts Academy or Hogwarts School experience you can get, like this experience of being a student there and that sort of stuff. And then everything else is just an amplification and justification for that, I think, in my opinion. It's a good RPG. It's combat was surprisingly good too. But for me, it wasn't like a memorable game. But I'm not a Harry Potter fan. So if I was a Harry Potter fan, like I am an Avatar fan, then the game would have been more memorable and more, exciting for me. Why is this not? Oh,
Next over at number 5, we have Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon.
I want to play this one.
From Software was not done after Elden Ring. They followed it up with this return to one of their classic game series. This mech action customization game is really challenging, but also very much focused around fast movement, lots of weapons, and managing everything. Your build.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this one, so I'm just gonna keep it playing because I haven't played this game. I haven't played any of these whatchamacallit, the Armored Core games. So other than being from Software, or let's say other than being a From Software game, I think what I'm trying to say is, sorry, my English is failing already. I'm running out of English, I think. But anyways, the only reason, the fact that it's a From Software game, it's enough for me to try to want to play it. So
build in Armored Core 6 is everything. The amount of options, the amount of tinkering and
it's weird to me how they kind of slide over the floor, and it's kind of weird to me visually, but
perfect build with the right stats for the right job is half the fun. So I'd say, like, if you like robot action games, cool, but if you like nerdy, technical robot action games, consider Fires of Rubicon, because not only does it have all that stuff, it has, like I said, the challenging, tight gameplay, some cool music, some beautiful environment design, and again, cool robots. What more do you want?
Yeah.
Next over at number 4, we have Baldur's Gate 3. Yep.
This is my backlog too. I can't speak a lot about this game.
You knew we were going to mention this one. This is the biggest RPG of the year for a lot of folks.
Like,
it's got a
I'm pretending here to be a gamer, and I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. This is just sad.
Challenging turn-based combat with a lot of options and a lot of freedom when it comes to the scenarios and how you build out your character and how you use those characters, but also just a ton of good, deep RPG story.
It looks beautiful. That's one thing that I gotta say about this game.
Telling, dialogue, decision making, and so many ways to completely flip the game on its head.
I really like the dice. The dice. I really like the dice. Like the whole animation of the dice.
You can make decisions, you can kill people, you can do whatever you want, and the game just keeps going. It keeps presenting you with new, interesting things, and it is a really compelling and satisfying adventure. If you like Dungeons and Dragons,
I've heard.
Cool, because you have all that stuff here. But even if you don't, this is a really great intro to a lot of it. It's easy to get into. Like I said, that combat can be challenging, but there are a lot of options, and you can play with friends. Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely Game of the Year for a lot of people, but for the sake of this list and to keep it a little interesting, we're not making it #1 because you probably heard that enough already. Look, I don't make the rules here with the ranking. We don't take it seriously. Anyway, let's move on. Now, down to number 3, we have Alan Wake 2. If you love PlayStation and you just love good, compelling, thrilling, big budget, single-player narrative adventure games, Alan Wake 2 does that.
But I did start playing this game, and I have a few minor comments.
Also experiments, tries new weird things, and shows you things that you haven't seen in a video game in ways that you've never expected to see in a video game. Does that make sense? They really try different things with the medium here. Remedy has experimented for years, and Alan Wake 2 really feels like the culmination of all that. It really is something special. It's a bit scary, it's moody, there's multiple playable characters, there's a bunch of different environments and scenarios, different types of horror. I'd say that the combat is pretty simple. Survival horror, great, but pretty simple, and they do rely on jump scares a lot, but the story and how they tell it and the characters, all of it is top tier, fantastic stuff. You're gonna be hooked on this adventure.
Okay, so I did get Alan Wake 2. And I started playing Alan Wake. The little bit that I've played, I've enjoyed. It's the combat is simple. It's a survival horror game, survival horror, however you say that. Which is different from Alan Wake 1, which was a little bit less horror, I guess. So this one's scary. And yeah, it has a lot of jump scares. At least I did experience a lot of jump scares with the few hours that I already played. How many hours have I played? Maybe like 6 hours, 7, 8 hours, something like that. I didn't get very far, but the game looks amazing. Like on my PC, I have a pretty decent PC, and I'm running it ultra high, everything, and it looks amazing. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Yes, it does this very cool mix of footage and real-time rendering, and it looks very cool, even though you can see the difference, of course. But I don't know if I agree with some commentary that I've heard and read, that it sometimes it feels very seamless and you can't tell like what's the footage and what's the real time rendering. Maybe I haven't gotten to a point where I cannot differentiate it, but for me, it's a very drastic difference. Not to take credit out of the visuals of the game. Visually the game, it's just amazing. But one thing that I do worry about the game, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing about the game. I'm going to say it's something that I worry about the game. And it's how weird it is. It's like, I kind of felt sometimes that it's very self-serving, in a sense, like it's just trying to be. There were points in which I was bored. I don't want to say like bored, like I was maybe I was feeling that the game was trying to be more weird than it was trying to be fun or keep me going. If that makes sense. Like it wants to capture me with the weirdness and not the gameplay. And 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 the game was losing me, to be honest. And I'm not gonna say I was bored, but it was starting to lose me because it's just one. It's just it was it was feeling a little bit pretentious. I don't want to be. Didn't want to say that, but it was feeling a little bit pretentious. It was feeling like I was feeling like it was just being weird for the sake of being weird. Like we want to just be weird, without substantiation. I want to say, and I hate that. I'm really, yeah, I really don't like that. In all, like in music, in movies, in video games, and everything. If you're gonna be weird, it has to be substantiated. Like in my mind, if you're just being weird to be weird, to, you know, I don't know, be self-serving, ah, you lose me little by little. And that's, I'm not gonna say that's like 100% my thoughts on the game or my review. Those are my first impressions, and I'm not saying it's 100% that. I'm just worried that it turns to be that in my for me. Um yeah, that's important to say for me. Like everyone is entitled to their own opinion to enjoy it, and yeah, it seems like everybody's has enjoyed that game a lot. I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy it. And Control was a weird game. Was a very weird game. But the gameplay for me, the weirdness didn't take away from the gameplay. And for me in Alan Wake 2, the weirdness is taking me away from the gameplay. And that's what I don't like so far.
Now down to number 2, we have
and I worry about that. I worry about the game being more focused on weirdness than actual being fun in the gameplay.
Fantasy 16. This was a PlayStation console exclusive Final Fantasy, of course, and it absolutely kicks ass. Is it perfect? No. Is it flawed like any other Final Fantasy game? Yes. But I think like every Final Fantasy game, it's going to end up being somebody's favorite because it has a lot of unique elements and a lot of cool things to offer. The combat is fast-paced, challenging, and way more active and action-oriented. Clive is a really compelling main character. Some of the boss battles are absolutely extreme, and the music is incredible. The game does have some pacing issues and a lot of weird fluff here and there, but the Final Fantasy folks have once again crafted a pretty compelling and awesome adventure that feels nothing like the previous games, and you can always commend them for that.
So the only thing I'm gonna say about this game, because I haven't played it, I did play a little bit. I played the demo, and the demo was really good. My only complaint with this game is, and you know, it's a Final Fantasy game, so I'm not gonna say it's a flaw in the game. For me as a player who focuses, how can I say this? I'm very impatient, and I just want to play the game. For me, gameplay, it's like my number one thing. And I hate when the game, like, I like stories. I'm trying to phrase this correctly. Like, I love stories, don't get me wrong. And this is a very story focused game, and I get that. But I think it's a tricky thing for me to balance story and gameplay and playing the game. I think Naughty Dog does this very well, where you constantly get cutscenes and story and play at the same time, and there's a good balance there, where you don't necessarily always spend a lot of time in cutscenes and story without playing. Um, this game, however, I remember the demo before I actually started playing. Um, I had already spent like more than an hour just looking at cutscenes. and that, and I actually got the game. I bought the game, and I haven't started playing the game because of that. Because I just think how I have to spend now an hour and 15 minutes just looking again at all those cutscenes, and in order to start playing. So, and I've been told that there's a lot of that's not isolated to the like intro of the game. It's like the entire game is like that, and that makes it hard for me to get into, to be honest, because if I want to watch a movie, I watch a movie. But I want to play a game. If I want to play a game, I play a game. I want to play a game. I want to get a game that lets me play it and not just watch cutscenes. However, I mean, that was my experience with the demo. My only kind of negative point on the demo, the combat of this game, it's insanely like it's so smooth. I was really impressed by the combat. I loved it. It reminded me a little bit. It's Devil. I know it's Devil May Cry's um combat director or whatever, or designer that did the combat in this game, which is great. But I actually did reminded me of Nier Automata, a little bit more like that fluid, so smooth and so fluid. It's so good. It feels very good. And then visually, it's incredible. The boss combat, like in the demo, you get to fight one boss. It's so epic, and the music, it's so epic. It's so good. I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this game a lot. It may become one of my favorite games in recent years. It's just that story thing that it kind of puts me off a little bit.
Previous games, and you can always commend them for that.
And not the story itself, but how it's told.
Now down to number one, if we're talking the best PlayStation 5 games, we figured we'd take a PlayStation exclusive here and talk about Spider-Man 2. This is Insomniac's latest, and
this is another game that I feel like it's gonna be like the first game that we talked about. I think it was Star Wars. Yeah, that it's just more. It's just the same game as Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, but a little bit more. And yeah, you get a different section of the map, more abilities, and but it's essentially the same game. So I'm pretty sure the wow factor is gonna stay in the first game whenever I played it, because I was like so impressed. For me, it's a 10 out of 10 game, the first one. At least when I played it. Maybe I go back now to it and I find issues. Well, yeah, those puzzles weren't that fun. I agree with the universal comments on that. So yeah, it's maybe a 9 out of 10 because of that. But other than that, it's just a great game.
It might not reach the absolute oh my god, holy crap, they nailed it of Spider-Man 2018.
Yeah, he's just saying exactly what I'm saying. And that happens to be with all these games that just are just more of the same. It doesn't necessarily it's bad. It's just more like when you get an Assassin's Creed, I don't feel like the open world Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, let's say. That everybody complains is kind of more of the same. I don't feel it's more of the same way that I feel Ragnarok is just more of the same God of War 2018. Because it's essentially the same game. It's essentially the same game. With some added stuff. At least when I see Far Cry 5 and 6, let's say, for example, they're completely different worlds, completely different characters, story. I mean, everything's different. I know the game design is kind of the same, but the game itself it's different. I'm not defending Far Cry. I know all the issues. I don't want to. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a lot of hate because of that comment. But anyways, it at least those games don't feel like I mean, this is essentially the same map. Same thing with Ragnarok. It's the same map with some added stuff. Well, no. Ragnarok, I cannot say that. But this one is the same map. It's New York with an added region of New York, which is, I don't remember what was it. But then it's essentially the same thing with it. Traversal is the same with the addition of the gliding thing. Combat is the same with the addition of some skills, I'm pretty sure. So I think the wow factor is gonna stay on Spider-Man 1, and then this one is just gonna be more of the same with some additions, which is fun too, but it's not like, oh. And it's so much that I love the first one, and I recommended it to everyone. I told everyone, you gotta play this game. All my friends, da da da. And then this one, I haven't even bought this game yet. I haven't, because I know it's just gonna be the same, more of the same. So I feel like I already played this game.
Spider-Man 2.
It's just a new story, I guess. And then Venom, I've heard that this Venom thing is like a completely new character with completely new skills and different combat and everything. So that's cool too.
Definitely goes crazy. It's a sequel with a lot more going on. You got playing as Miles and as Peter, so you have multiple Spider-Men, you have multiple villains from Kraven to Venom. There's a lot going on here, but the game doesn't manage to collapse under the weight of its own ambitions. You got a bigger New York with Queens and Brooklyn to explore. You got some over-the-top boss battles. You have a lot more abilities with your symbiote stuff, but ultimately what they did here is they made another Spider-Man game. It is a sequel, it keeps things going, and it is really cool to see our heroes doing new superhero stuff, namely punching Venom in the face. I think it's
and that's one thing that I wanna mention. Like, they say more and more and more. I don't necessarily think that having more abilities and more complexity in the game, it's necessarily better. To be honest. Like, for example, one of my things with Jedi Survivor, for example, was that, and actually I think Ragnarok too, is that the areas are more open and there's a lot more to explore. So the sensation for me as a player, and this is personal, I'm not saying everybody felt this way or feels this way or has to feel this way. This is just my opinion and my but you see, when I see all these buttons on screen right now, the HUD, you see the L1, you do these things when you press L1 and press these buttons, and then when you press R1 and press these buttons, and then you have this too. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I still gotta play it, and probably it's great, but when I see it this way, it's like there's so many stuff here. You see, you got a finisher, you got these 4 abilities, and then you got 4 more here. And then you got something prompt in here. So it's like there's so many things that to me it doesn't it makes it convoluted instead of like better. For me, simple is better. Simple and deep, it's better. When it's simple and complex, it's better. Like Sekiro, for example. That's beautiful. One complex system that I really like is Ghost of Tsushima. And hopefully they nail it here, like Sucker Punch did with Ghost of Tsushima. But what I was gonna say is like Jedi Survivor and Ragnarok, the open areas are bigger and there's more to explore. So what I felt ultimately because of that was not like, oh, this is better because it's bigger and I have more stuff to do. It was, I actually felt like I was missing stuff. So it gave me FOMO basically. Like, oh, I haven't got, like, I need to go this way, but I haven't explored all this. So I feel like I'm missing something. Right? So that was the sensation that I got. So in my opinion, bigger and more doesn't necessarily mean better. So that's one of my concerns here with this game, but probably isn't, because I mean it's Insomniac and they're they're really good.
Specifically, if you're like a 90s old school Spider-Man comic book fan, there's going to be a lot to love here. And again, it's not perfect, but if you're looking for a good cinematic and fun PlayStation adventure, Spider-Man 2 was great for that. Just what the doctor ordered. Those are 10 PlayStation 5 games of 2023, but we got some bonus ones we couldn't fit in the main list, including... It was a busy year for fighting games, and it was hard to narrow it down, but we're going with Street Fighter 6.
I wanna try Street Fighter 6. And here I see Kratos there, but I do want to try Street Fighter 6.
Also, we figured it's worth mentioning it squeaked in at the end of the year. The God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC. Technically, it's not a game, I know.
I still need to play this DLC.
But it's only like a couple hours, and it's worth playing. Also, if we're talking DLC, the Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty expansion. This expansion does feel more like a significant game, and it is awesome. And Sea of Stars. One of the best RPGs of the year, you know.
I need to finish this game, continue playing this game, because I really liked it. I really liked it.
Between this and Octopath Traveler 2, people are really eating good in the classic style RPG sense. So yeah, clearly here there's so much to play.
Super
There's
cool.
more to talk about, so we'll catch you guys next time. But let us know in the comments what you think about some of these games. And like I said,
I did like it.
We're playing on PlayStation 5 from 2023. Let's talk anything at all about games.
I did like it. Make sure you subscribe. I mean, probably you are, because this is one of the biggest channels. Whoa, 7.8. Wow, that's a lot of followers. But yeah, 152,000 views. Make sure you subscribe and like. This is a good video. But yeah, that's my reaction to this list. I'm not sure I want to add anything to it, especially on PlayStation, because I haven't played. Like, I have a PS5, but I barely use it, basically. I got it because there was this shortage. It was before, I mean, they were available. It was when the shortage, and I actually signed up for this PlayStation thing where they notify you whenever they have something in stock, and I got the notification and the chance to buy one, so I got it. But to be honest, I don't play it that much. And I'm not sure I have anything else to add to this. I'm sorry, to this list. Not sure. I mean, I think everything's there. On PS5. Let me see the comments. If there's Remnant 2 is a great game. I think this is one that needs to be added to that list. I played a little bit. I only have first impressions, but because I only played a few hours and I beat the first boss. But this game is really good. I'm looking forward to playing it. I did on PC, not PS5 though. Final Fantasy is my most played games. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. It was good, but I don't know if I would add it here on the list. Let me see. Remnant 2. Yeah, you can't miss Remnant 2. I don't know. I just love these videos. I enjoyed Alan Wake 2 ending. Okay. Burning Shores DLC was amazing from story, gameplay, and gear. Was that this year? Well, that's a DLC anyways. I need to play that. Oh, Blasphemous 2 is another one that I would add, like a must play. I'm actually playing it. That's the game that I'm playing now. Super good. Super good. Bramble, I don't know if it's a must play. I did like it a lot. It was my favorite indie game this year, actually. What else do we have? Jedi Survivor, Alan Wake. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. Lords of the Fallen. I didn't play that game, but I don't feel like encouraged to play it anyways. Armored Core, they just mentioned. Yeah, that's it. That's it for today. Yeah, awesome. Humanity is a good game. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, I guess. Should I say that? That's like best practices, right? Okay. Let's continue. What are we gonna see now?